What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Football Guys YouTube channel. Today, we got a special guest. I got my friend Christian Williams, the better half of the College Football Show. We have a show every week. We came on and we said, you know what? Let's do an NFL mock draft first round to get everybody pissed at us. So we are going to do a first round mock, and we're going to talk through the picks. We're going to talk about the fantasy implications as well, and we're going to dive into it. And being that he's my guest, we're gonna let him pick first. So Christian, who do you have at 101? Are you going off the board, or are you sticking chalk so far?
I don't actually know what chalk is anymore, but here the first overall pick now belongs to the Carolina Panthers. If you've been living under a rock for the last month, and now CJ Stroud seems to be the favorite to go first overall, and that's where I went as well. I think that this pick is very much so still up in the air. It's obviously going to be a quarterback. You don't send that big of a haul if it's not, but which quarterback is still up in the air? I went with the favorite because I do think that Stroud has a lot of things that Carolina will covet and really like, and he seems like a Frank Reich type of guy.
He does seem like that. And there's a lot of noise about this pick right now, but this is probably the safe play. Like, hey, Carolina moves up, gets CJ Stroud. They build around him moving forward. And if you want more analysis based on that, go watch our show that we just did this week for the deep dive. We went through all these quarterbacks for an hour. All right, I had the 102. So, I got Houston Texans on the clock. Where do they go? A little bit of noise from them, but I'm taking Bryce Young. I think you can't pass up Bryce at this point. I think he's a good he's a quarterback you got to build around. I think that he's the kid that you're looking at like, hey, he's going to be our franchise saver. We're going to bring him in, and he's going to do a lot of good things in this offense, kind of bringing over that Shanahan offense. I think he'll fit well in that. I think this is a no-brainer in terms of like just fit. He's going to be that guy that he can lead this team. Not bad weapons around him. They'll probably add some as we get through this. But when we're looking at overall, I think you have to take Bryce here. I think the noise about them not taking a quarterback is just what it is. It's noise. They're going to have to take Bryce and just move forward with him.
Yeah, I like that pick. Here at 3 overall, the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. I do want to preface, you offered up doing some trades. I didn't feel like getting too complex. So, but I did make some selections with the assumption that maybe a trade will happen and there will be a trade down. And here at 3 with the Cardinals, that's kind of where I went as well. So I took Tyree Wilson, the edge defender, off the board. And I know Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson is a bit of a contrarian take or a hot take, but Tyree Wilson does have a lot of traits that NFL teams are really going to like. He's a very long guy with a lot of bend. The foot injury is concerning, and I think that could maybe impact his draft stock a bit. But in terms of getting a versatile player that can kind of fit in any type of scheme, that's Tyree Wilson, and Arizona needs a lot of guys like that. So I think they'll prefer him to maybe the better Will Anderson.
Yeah, this is a hot take. I like this take. Yeah, hey, Cardinals fans, in the comments, just give him crap right now. Just say, hey, why are we taking Tyree? No, but I think he has physical tools. He's an exciting player to watch, and I think they could fall in love with him, right? Like, and there's always been a little bit of noise about Will Anderson. There's always been that like, oh, he's a little overrated noise like going around. Like that's been going on for 2 years. So I think, hey, we've seen crazy things happen on draft day, especially. Well, when the Raiders are picking early, they usually take someone that we're not used to. All right, let me go to Indianapolis. Let's talk about the 104. I think this thing can go any way, like any possible way. There was noise about it. Hey, Will Anderson's still on the board. They won't let him pass. But I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. I think you got to take him. I think that he fits perfectly in that new offense in Indianapolis, and he can build around him like he built around Jalen Hurts. I think that the upside is too good to pass up. I think their owner is no way their owner is going to be able to get. There is no way he's going to be able to let this guy go by him. I think he's too excited about the prospects of what Anthony Richardson can be on that team. The ceiling play, they haven't had a quarterback in that since Andrew Luck, and I think that they can build around Richardson, and they put him in a pretty good offense. They have Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. You're looking at that. They can kind of lean on them. Their offensive line is, as long as Nelson's not injured, he can come back and be ready to go, and he develops, and you have a good offensive line. I think Richardson's that guy. I think we're looking at this, and you set him in there, and you say, hey, you got to have a quarterback in that conference that can compete with the big guns. And Anthony Richardson can certainly do that. And that's why you take him and not like Levis or someone else on the board.
Yeah. Please go watch our episode from this week. We talked about Anthony Richardson for quite a bit, but I did want to mention there are a lot of NFL draft analysts that are finishing up some evaluations, and there are some takes being thrown out there. And I'm loving to see it because I think he is more refined than people give him credit for. Okay, here at number 5, Seattle is on the clock, and This to me is the easiest pick, though I think Seattle could go a few different ways. I think if Anthony Richardson's on the board, that's a very intriguing pick. But Will Anderson is on the board, and that's a nice consolation prize considering he could be the best player in this class. They need edge help. They currently have Darrell Taylor. They drafted Boye Mafe last year, and I think that's a reason a lot of Seattle fans don't really want an edge rusher. But you have to consider that maybe that is your edge rushing duo for the future. And you think back to when Seattle won Super Bowls, they had a lot of guys that they could rotate in. Will Anderson immediately comes in and is the best edge rusher that you have. So I think this fills a need and is the best value pick on the board here.
Yeah, no, if he goes to Seattle, that's just not fair. I think that he's a perfect Seattle Seahawk. If he goes there, that special defense they're building, and then they can just kind of add to it and look there. Like if I'm a Seattle fan, I'd be stoked to have Will Anderson fall in my lap. All right, I got 6. Detroit Lions are on the clock. They really need, like when I'm looking at this team, it's cornerback and defensive line help. Like I just look at it and it goes back and forth. I go back and forth even on my mocks that I've written for Football Guys with what they had. And I went a little bit off of what I would have. I know Jalen Carter's still on the board, but I do think he might slip a little bit. He's had some off-season things going on, and so like I think it's there. So you know what? I took Christian Gonzalez, and this kid, he is good. 6'1", 197. You know, he 4.38 in the 40-yard dash, 41.5-inch vertical, 14 reps in the 225 bench press, fluid athlete. I think he has one of the highest ceilings of any corner in this class. Like we could be talking about him being an elite guy. Lions need that corner help. I know they added some guys in free agency, but even then they didn't add a guy like this. And if they add this guy and he can kind of be there with Jeff, I always say his last name wrong. Okudah, thank you. The Lions fans, I know you're brutal. Please be nice to me in the comments. But Okudah and Christian Gonzalez together, I mean, you're talking about a legitimate duo in their depth in their secondary. And I'm going to add Christian Gonzalez off the board.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I almost took him at 3 to Arizona because I do think that the NFL is going to be obsessed with his profile. That being said, here at number 7, I have the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock, and I went with what I don't see mocked a whole lot, but Joey Porter Jr., the corner from Penn State. This is a guy that he has NFL bloodlines. He has really great film. He's a scheme versatile guy, and he can go out and play press man and be an immediate number 1 cornerback. Those are things that NFL teams typically like. He has the size. I know a lot of people, even if the Raiders are mocked a corner, because that's very much so a need, a lot of people go with Devon Witherspoon, but I think the NFL might be a little hesitant about Devon Witherspoon's size and his inability to test here through this pre-draft process. So I went with the bigger guy that has the NFL bloodlines that I think the NFL is probably higher on than current mock drafts project.
I think so too. I think the bloodlines are there. I like this pick. This is I liked your draft here with this because this is a Raiders move. Like this is when's the last corner like that they've had that you're like, oh, that's a shutdown guy. Like they really need secondary help. Like they've needed it for a long time. So no, I agree. I like this one. 108 Atlanta Falcons, man, they can go anywhere. They might go bijan. They might go edge. They might, when you're looking at it, they might go corner, like Witherspoon's still on the board here, maybe tackle if they need that. But I took a guy that I'm really high on, and I'm probably higher on than anybody else. Nolan Smith. I'm going to take him. I think he fits. The teams have talked about him. The Falcons have talked about him. Like, they brought him in, and they've talked to him, too. I think that, when you're looking at Nolan, he can get a little younger on that defensive line. He has that high-level traits at the position. I think he has versatility in their defensive scheme. I think he upgrades their pass rush immediately, which is something they need on that defensive line, and getting a little younger. So give me this kid. I think, Georgia kid going to Atlanta. I really feel like they're going to like Nolan Smith, and I do too. Like I've seen him mocked all the way to 30 in a lot of mocks, but I still think he can sneak into the top 10.
Oh yeah. If he goes to Atlanta, I put that in my mock 1.0 that's on footballguys.com. Go check that one out. I will be very excited because I dropped that one right after the combine and the hype was all there. And I think they're down to probably 2 players, and it would be Nolan Smith and Bijan Robinson. I truly believe that. Good pick. Number 9, Chicago. There are a lot of different ways that Chicago can go because I think that they are very much so in a position where taking best player available, regardless of position, does make some sense. On the other side of things, I think they do need to improve the offensive line still. I think they're comfortable with Braxton Jones as one of their starting tackles, but right now they only have one of those. So here at the 9th overall pick, I'm taking Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. Ryan Poles has kind of shown that he won't lean too heavily into analytics. See the Velus Jones selection if you would like proof of that. But Peter Skoronski, he has short arms, and that's okay. He's a local Chicago kid that has never left the Chicago area. And Ryan Poles has been vocal about wanting to bring in local guys that care about the Chicago Bears and care about the city and the success of the football team. I think Peter Skoronski fits a lot of things that Chicago Bears football is looking for. And here at 109, I make him the first tackle off the board too.
Which is weird. We usually see tackles a little earlier, but no, I think this is a great pick. Check field, go after that, and I think that's how you have to step him up. At the 110, I freaking hate this team, Christian. Philadelphia. This might happen, and it's going to drive me crazy because they're going to get one of the best players in the draft, and you're sitting there like, how did we let this kid fall to 10? And I get it. Jalen Carter's had his issues, but Jalen Carter, I cannot see Howie Roseman passing this kid up. I think if he gets there and you're like, hey, I got a defensive anchor, they need that on that defensive line. They lost some guys in free agency, and you're looking at their team, and it's stacked. But this is I think that they're in a position of just, hey, they can just grab the best player available because of the culture they've built there, which is a great culture. And they have developing coaching. I think the off the field stuff with Carter, if they take a shot on him, if he slips the 10, I think he'll be very like, hey, appreciative of what they did. Roseman will get him dialed in, and he could be a force in the NFC East. And I think they're salivating at this. Like I saw a column today from the Eagles, and they talked about like, hey, they should move up to get Jalen Carter. I don't know if they're going to have to. And if that's the case, they're going to freaking fall in love with him at 110.
I have a lot of Jalen Carter takes. One is that he's the best player when he's on the football field. And the other is, I don't know if I'd take him in the top 10. So I have a lot more, but we'll leave it at that. Good pick. Great pick. That would be scary for your Cowboys. Here at 11, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. And Will Levis normally isn't on the board when I'm doing mock drafts. I still think that NFL teams are going to like him. I think there's a world in which we see 4 quarterbacks gone in the top 4 picks, but once again, we didn't do trades in this mock draft. So he's sitting here at 11, and I took Will Levis. The Titans really aren't in a great position to take a quarterback, and I honestly don't think this is the right move. On the other side of things, it's a pretty good fit for Will Levis in terms of the things that he does well and matching it up with the things that the Titans like to do on offense. I think that he could have a second, at least, behind Ryan Tannehill. I think this is an opportunity to sit and learn from a guy that you could model your play style after. And I think overall, you're getting a guy and you're kind of resetting your clock because Tennessee does not look like they're in position to compete anytime soon. So Levis kind of fits their timeline a bit as well.
I don't think there's a perfect spot to draft Will Levis in any mock right now because of the question marks, but this could be. I mean, with Tennessee, Tennessee's in such a weird spot as a franchise right now. I think that's the biggest. They whiffed a lot last year. They just don't look great there. All right, at 12. So a few guys on the board still here. I don't necessarily love this pick, but I did it anyway. So we'll see how you guys feel about this. I took Lucas Van Ness to the Texans. I don't think the Texans. We've talked about this before on our show. A lot of people mock a wide receiver here, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I think based on their offseason where they're at, I think in D'Amico Ryans, if he takes a quarterback at 2, he's going to want the guy that he thinks he can build around. So whoever that is, whether it's Myles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness, whatever edge rusher that's going to be, I think it's going to be one of these guys, and he's going to say, hey, and I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to build around him like I did in San Francisco with my defenses, and I think that's what he's looking for at 112. I think it could be Lucas. I think it could be Myles Murphy. If it is Lucas, I think, hey, bolsters their pass rush immediately. I think he fits that profile, what they like to do. He'll get after it, kind of gives them that anchor on that defensive line on that edge, and that's what they're going to be looking for here at this pick.
Yeah, I like that. The NFL is going to be obsessed with developing this kid because he does require some development, but the physical traits are just insane. And we know the NFL likes traits. And that leads me into my next pick at 13, the New York Jets. I do think they will have this pick. I don't think this pick is going for Aaron Rodgers, although, who knows? Who knows if that deal is even going to happen? But here at 13, I do think they want an offensive tackle. And so I went with Paris Johnson Jr., the Ohio State tackle. This kid, the reason I brought up traits, he's one of the more traitsy guys that we've seen at the offensive tackle position. On the other side of things, I do think that he does struggle in certain areas, and specifically areas that the Jets currently like to deploy on offense. But I think relying on their Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton tandem of tackles is not a method of success for an Aaron Rodgers-led team. So I think they go with the traits guy. And honestly, if him and Mekhi Becton end up working out, that's an insane tackle duo for a long time. So Paris Johnson.
I love that pick. Big boy. Paris is a big boy. They can't, if they're gonna win, they gotta put some people around them. Mekhi Becton, like you talked about, not gonna have that. And to the same point, I'm gonna go to New England Patriots and I'm gonna take Darnell Wright, tackle from Tennessee. And I think with this pick, New England last year, the offense ranked 28th in the NFL in first downs per game. The offense was 17th in scoring. They struggled all season. Trent Brown struggled all season. They lost Isaiah Wynn. Cole Strange kind of was inconsistent. I think Darnell can be in there. He's a ceiling play. I know there's been some talk about the Patriots drafting Bijan. I have a hard time imagining that's going to happen. If Belichick does that, then we know he's done. Like we know that he's not the coach that we thought he was. They got to improve that offensive line. I think Darnell could be that guy.
I am 100% with you on that take. I don't know how the Patriots leave this first round without an offensive tackle and feel good about it.
Yeah.
Here at 15, I am on the clock with the Green Bay Packers, and I get a lot of hate for this. I've put this, I think, in both of my mocks, but Darnell Washington to me looks like a guy that could be the first tight end off the board. He's a sixth offensive lineman out there that has shown flashes of being a really good pass catcher. He's an elite athlete. He's a mammoth of a man. And those are things that NFL teams like. And while Darnell Washington doesn't have the most consistent hands, he might not be the most reliable underneath type of guy. He is also a very nice red zone threat for a younger quarterback in what we project to be Jordan Love out there. I think they need pass catchers and just guys that can be in that offensive skill position room, and Darnell Washington is that. So he comes off the board as the first tight end here at 15.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked because I think he's a lineman too. Like this is a Green Bay move because they can go get a dude that's versatile for them, what they try to do. That's why I get it. Like I understood that completely. All right, let's go to Washington. So when you're looking at Washington, they're the weird team too. So if you've done mocks for Washington, extremely tough team to mock for because they have a lot of different kind of needs going on in here. But you know what? I took a tackle. I took Broderick Jones. He's still on the board. Broderick probably at this point is probably a value based on what he is. When you're looking overall, Eric Bieniemy coming in, they got to find a way to protect your quarterback, whoever the hell that's going to be. And they added Nick Gates and Andrew Wiley, but they didn't get it. They need a tackle. Like they need Broderick Jones. They need someone like this that can be that special kid, especially in FC East, especially the pass rushers and the edge rushers there too. Like they need someone to protect them and be that forefront at that offensive line since they, when you're thinking about who they've moved on from in that offense and that team.
Yeah, that's my OT1 right there. I love this pick. I think that 5 years from now, we're going to look at Broderick Jones and say, how did he last that long in his draft?
Yeah.
Number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock, and if Devon Witherspoon is there, they would be foolish not to take him. They do still have needs at corner. They did add to the room this offseason, but that secondary, outside of Minka Fitzpatrick, is not the strongest. They definitely, I would call that their weakest room. They lost Devin Bush. I think a linebacker is a sleeper type of position here, but I also think Pittsburgh's too smart and know that they can get mid-round linebackers. Devin Witherspoon is everything that an AFC North corner should be. He's a very physical guy. He likes to talk trash. He belongs in the black and gold for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he comes off the board here.
Yeah, good pick there. I like that. I enjoy it. They'll be sad Joey's not there, Joey Porter, but this is a good consolation prize. Witherspoon would be good at 17. All right, 118, Detroit Lions. I think best case scenario is this right here. So they got their corner in the first pick, and then they get Kalijah Kancey. And Kancey's a guy, and shout out to Christian. He talked about Kancey being one of these guys, top guys in December. And he said, hey, this kid is really good, really special. He tested very well at the defensive line. They've been comparing him to Aaron Donald because of the Pittsburgh thing, but 6'1", 281. He's a big kid. He can definitely do that. He can kind of shore up that interior defensive line there for the Lions. And I think this is a great pick in terms of just, hey, we got our outside, we got our corner secondary shored up, we got a defensive line set. And really, when you look at it, they need to fix that defense. But if they do, they can win that division. Like as long as Goff plays the way he did last year. So Kancey for me is a good pick for the Lions at this spot, trying to fill those needs.
Yeah, I love it. Big Kalijah guy. 19, the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks are also in a weird spot, and they have a lot of talent on their team, and I know that they're not going to be very good simply because of their quarterback play. To me, that means go draft a premium position, and one of those positions is corner. Deonte Banks is still on the board. I don't think he belongs on the board. This is one of my favorite players in this draft. An incredibly fluid athlete, really smart, really sticky in coverage. And while Tampa was able to retain Jamel Dean this offseason, somehow they were able to manipulate their cap. They still need bodies in that corner room. Feels like a Todd Bowles type of guy as well. So here he comes off the board.
Yeah, at the 20th pick was Seattle. So Seattle took Will Anderson. So they got their maybe consensus edge one. And then I'm going to take Jaxon Smith-Njigba here. And I think if they're going to build and they want Geno to kind of be that guy if they're moving forward, and then they have Lockett who's getting older, and then you have DK, that's not a bad offense. And you got Kenneth Walker at running back, Ken, or whatever you want to call yourself now. And then DK, and then Lockett, and then you got Jaxon Smith-Njigba. That's a legitimate offense if Geno can kind of move the ball around, and then you fix that defense. You got Anderson on one side. Like, I think they would like this pick. I think it's a luxury pick, but I do think that he can kind of be that guy taking over for him in this offense, and I think it's a great spot for him.
I would put some Seattle winning the Super Bowl bets down if this happened, if I'm being completely honest. It would be pretty insane. All right, here, 21, Los Angeles Chargers. I traditionally go pass catcher here, but I wanted to do something different to see how the rest of the mocks shook out. And so I went with Myles Murphy, the edge rusher from Clemson. Had a really good workout this last week. He missed the pro day, he missed the combine, but he was able to put up some really good numbers at a private workout for all NFL teams. He's a freaky athlete that I think, he doesn't have the best bend in the world, but he doesn't need it necessarily in this Chargers defense. I think he fits really well, and they need to generate more pressures. And honestly, Khalil Mack is getting pretty old too. So this kind of makes you a little bit younger in a premium position area.
Yeah, no, I like this pick there. Baltimore's on the board, and I'm under the assumption Lamar's coming back with this pick, everybody. So that's just kind of how the assumption is going to be. I'm going to take Quentin Johnston. I know he's been kind of not getting love out there in fantasy and everything like that. I think he fits well in this offense, though. I think, when you're looking at what Todd Monken tries to do, outside with Bateman, and just kind of be able to use him in different ways. And he gives them another weapon, and they need a wide receiver. They're going to have to draft another wide receiver, and they can't miss this time. And the other wide receivers, Jordan Addison, Zay's on the board, these other guys out there. I just think they're going to fall in love with Quentin Johnston's profile, and I think he fits their offense a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a really fun duo if Rashad Bateman can stay healthy.
Yes.
23, Minnesota Vikings. So you just mentioned Zay Flowers. He is no longer on the board. I'm taking him here at 23. The Vikings lost Adam Thielen this offseason. I think that they are a sneaky team to go get a quarterback, but I don't think that they're going to be as enthralled with Hendon Hooker as maybe some mock drafts suggest. Zay Flowers does give them a ton as an after-the-catch type of guy. That's exactly what Kevin O'Connell offense needs. So I think they take him here.
Yeah, at 24, Jaguars, they can go a lot of different ways, but I'm going to take the best player available on my board at least, and that's Brian Branch. And you've been on him. This kid is special. Like, we could go back and look at this and be like, man, how did they let the best player of the draft? He's like the steal, like at 24, Brian Branch, versatile. I think that's something he can cover. He could play safety. He covers slot receivers. He has the strength to play the close to the line of scrimmage to stop the run too. Like, he kind of gives them that weapon on their defensive side that he can do. He's an all around great player. Jacksonville, this is kind of a weird spot at Jacksonville, like who's left on the board. And I think Branch just kind of fits like their need, and it fits like, hey, best player available, I'm going to take him.
Yeah. I love this pick. I haven't seen this very often, so I really like that. 25, New York Giants. Giants fans, I'm sorry. I know you don't want a center, but you desperately need a center. Ben Bredesen is I think he's played like 36 snaps or something like that at the center position since entering the league. John Michael Schmitz, however, has played a lot of center at Minnesota, and I think ultimately this guy has movement skills. He has the ability to anchor. These are things that they're going to be looking for in their center. To kind of unleash and let Saquon do his thing. And I think John Michael Schmitz kind of fits exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, Giants fans, rip his butt in the comments. Get him.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna screenshot this, and I'm sending it out with your name and on social media. This is Dylan, our graphics guy. This is the one we're using. No, I think it's a fit for need. Like that, they gotta kind of shore up that offensive line. And you're right. I think I love John Michael Smith. I kind of want him for the Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie, as a Cowboy fan. All right, Gallows fans, listen, I am a Cowboy fan. So if you're watching this, do not yell at me, but this is the way the board went. I blame Christian for the way the board went. There's no way they're not going to draft Bijan if he's still on the board. Now, will he be on the board? I don't know. I think the way this works out, the problem with Bijan that I have with the mock that we've done, me and Christian have done, I've done basically 2 now or 3, Christian's on 4 or 5, just in terms of like what we're looking at. There's so many good edge and needs for edge rushers and corners and even off the tackles. It pushes Bijan down to me. Now, a team's going to fall in love with him, but to me, like, I could see this happening. There's scenarios where he's going to fall to the Cowboys, and Jerry's not letting him by because it's too good. Texas kid, running back. I think he actually pairs pretty well with Tony Pollard. I'll be honest. Like, I wouldn't hate the pick, but I know fantasy managers wouldn't like it. But I think that this could happen. I think there's a realm of possibility of this happening, so I'm going to take Bijan.
Tony Pollard's not under contract after next year.
Yeah,
either.
Exactly.
So
take the 5th year, buy Pollard. Okay, let's roll with Bijan.
100%. It makes sense. I don't think he'll be there for what it's worth, but he was in our mock, so he is a Dallas Cowboy now. Here at 27, the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. And this team can go a lot of different ways as well. They did add some receivers, and then they kind of removed themselves from the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes. So I kind of think they're comfortable with the receiver room. I'm going to Juwan Jones, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. Talk about big boys. This is the biggest boy. And I think ultimately they're not happy with what Spencer Brown's been doing at right tackle. Juwan Jones is a natural right tackle that I think could come in and protect Josh Allen's front side, because Josh Allen likes to get out to that side. So they need a guy kind of like this. With him still on the board, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. And I know Bills fans are probably going to hate this one.
Oh yeah, Bills fans. I mocked him Osiris Torrance, and they were not. I was getting some DMs. So, but I think they need offensive line help. Like they gotta shore up that offensive line, and I agree. I think that's a fine pick. All right, I'm gonna go super chalk here. So I'm gonna take Bengals. I'm gonna take Michael Mayer because I feel like Mayer's got to stay in the first round. Maybe he falls out. I know Kincaid's been getting some loving out there. I just think with Mayer, he has a very good varied release package. He likes to line up in line. He can split wide too. He's not necessarily the best athlete, but he's productive, really good hands, can become immediate red zone favorite to Joe Burrow. Adding him to this offense this year could be absolutely deadly as well. Like if you're looking at it from that perspective, if you're the Bengals, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Michael Mayer, Joe Mixon still there right now. If you add him to that, I mean, you're talking about an NFL caliber, Super Bowl. I mean, like, hey, gonna be there. Like they could win it. And I think Mayer gives them that. And then, hey, if they do lose Higgins to free agency or whatever happens, it's not that Mayer is going to replace Higgins, but he could at least give them that, solid number 2 target getter. They'll probably go out and get somebody else, obviously, but I think he fits pretty well in this offense.
Yeah, I love this pick. I know it's not a needle mover to some Bengals fans. I think they want different positions. I also think that this makes your offense nearly unstoppable. Here at 29, the New Orleans Saints are on the board, and they lost a lot of defensive linemen. So I went with defensive line, edge, and interior at Atamiwa Adebawore. This is a guy that he has shot up boards in this pre-draft process. He's an elite athlete. He doesn't have a whole lot of pass rush moves, but New Orleans likes to take risks on their defensive linemen. They traditionally do it, and they traditionally come out on the positive end of that. So Adebawore, I think that he's going to end up at least a top 50 pick, and really from 20 to 50, it's kind of a crapshoot of value. So he sneaks into the first round here.
Hey, the Saints have never met an edge that they didn't want to go grab. Like they do, this is their thing. They go get it. They go move up. They grab these guys at the back end of the first, and you're like, wait, that guy had a second round grade. Nope. And then Saints turn him into something. Like we've seen this multiple times. If you're an NFL fan, New Orleans has a way with these edge guys. All right, Philly. Remember, I was nice to you. I gave you Jalen Carter at 30. I'm giving you Jahmyr Gibbs. And partly because this is a fantasy show and I think this is exciting, but also, you know what? I think at 30, there's a lot of different ways Philadelphia can go, but a lot of the main positions when you're looking at who's off the board, they could go Keely Ringo, but they haven't drafted, or Cam Smith, but they haven't drafted a first round cornerback since I think it's been like 15 years or whatever the case may be. Like, I think with Gibbs, I think they could add something special with him, get that 5th-year option and just go and grab him. And I don't know. I think they could do this. And I think that he fits really well in that offense. I know they grab Rashad Penny and I think they're happy with that. And I know that they have Boston Scott and Gainwell and those guys, but Gibbs is different. And we both know Gibbs can be special and transcendent. And if you grab him and Jalen Carter, you'd be probably pretty happy with your first round draft.
Yeah. The Eagles fans are going to hate you though.
I know. It's okay. They hate me anyway. Remember, never mind. I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to get some weird messages in my DMs.
Yeah, that's fair. Here, 31, the last pick of the first round, because we didn't mention that Miami forfeited their pick earlier. Yeah. So 31, Chiefs are on the clock. Normally I go with an edge rusher or an offensive tackle, but like you just said, it's fun. This is a fantasy channel. I went with Jordan Addison this time around. I think that adding a special wide receiver like Jordan Addison. Now I say special, he won the Biletnikoff. He had a down year. He didn't test very well. There are a lot of things going against him being a first round pick. And I still think that he has a very good shot to be that. I think if you add him to a room of Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, you're feeling pretty good about what that room looks like moving forward. So you got a lot of young guys there, and Addison, the way he plays fits Mahomes to a T. It's a perfect fit. So he is the last pick here of the first round.
Congrats, Chiefs. You got rid of Juju and just got another Juju. I'm just kidding. Don't get mad at me out there with Juju fans out there. But yeah, hey, that's our first round mock. I think we did well. I think going through it, like, we have a lot of realistic outcomes with what you could have. And let us know in the comments. Hey, let us know. And we love this. We'll banter back and forth with you guys. So jump in there, be respectful. But if you don't agree with the pick, let us know why and talk about it and go from there. Christian, thanks for joining me. The better half of our show. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. I was glad to be on, and we have to mention Jeff because it's a third, right? I'm just a third.
Yes. Yes.
Jeff's actually the better half, and then we make up the other half, but then we split up. We're each a fourth, I guess.
I guess. All right, y'all. We will see you guys later. Hit that like button before you leave. Hit the sub button and let us know in the comments what you guys think of our draft. We appreciate you guys.